My name is Neil Taylor. I'm an ex-miner from Ashington Colliery. I do write social history books on mining, and I did the tours at Woodhorn Museum, where we are now, for a number of years, and still interested in social history, and I'm still busy with a couple of mining books at present. Ashington Colliery was sunk in 1866, and of course there were further pits sunk, which belonged to the Ashington Coal Company. There was Woodhorn and Linton in 1894 to 1898, and then of course Ashington and Limerick. So, but Woodhorn was the second earliest of the pits to be sunk. Well, originally, I mean, where we're standing now, across to my right would be the pithead baths, which were built around about 1932. And it's a big complex. All in all, Woodhorn would have employed, throughout its history, at peak time would be over 2,000 men. Not the biggest of the collieries. Of course, there was Ashington and Limerick and Ashington, who employed at its peak 5,000 men. But Woodhorn was important because when they sunk this pit, the housing at Ashington had been going for some years, but the Hurst part of Ashington really was built for the miners who were going to work at Woodhorn, which meant that Ashington was expanding all the time. Well, the colliery itself, from 1981, that's when the colliery itself closed, and of course after that will be a little bit salvage work and pumping work, because Ashington and Woodhorn were combined in some ways. But after that, it was decided that by the county council that it would be turned into a mining museum, and thankfully, because it's one of the only ones around the area, except for Beamish, it has been maintained. Sadly, the baths, which were across there to my right, they were demolished, but we still have the working shops, the fitting shops, electric shops, the manager's offices here to my left, and of course the winding shops, the tanking shed, the shafts. We've got places for the ventilation. They're still intact, and of course now we have the new records office, the county records office, which attracts a lot of people.
Just give me a sense of how the mining industry helped shape the community that was around it.
Well, it did, and especially in this area with the Ashington Coal Company, because they had a welfare department who provided not only housing, for the miners, but they also provided welfares and institutes, and they actually built these. So from these, you had football, you had rugby, you had cricket, and of course in the institutes, you would have the league shows and picture halls, so really it did shape a community. The community were bounded, by the coal company really in the early years. After the closure of Ashington, which was 2005, and the men at that time, they weren't all local men. People were travelling from some of the pits from Durham that had closed down. And men began to drift away and look to other fields. Some of them started their own businesses. Some moved to coal fields in the Midlands. Other people weren't working. They were looking for work. But it certainly made a big difference to the community. And of course, lots of less people in the area. Less money because less employment. So a big difference.
So does your heart go out to the young people of this area now who, there was once an industry that they could work in, and now it's no more?
So it certainly does, because I know that when I left school, and my father was a pit, my grandfather, I lived in the colliery village, and in the early years it seemed as if you followed your father and your grandfather down the pit. It was part of the growth of the village. That was how it was. Some people didn't, but most people did, because the employment was there on the doorstep, and that was how it was. Nowadays it's not like that. Young people have got to really look for jobs, get educated. you know, oh, move away. It's just, this is how it is, unfortunately.